Welcome to MVP Coach's Corner, where bro logic goes to die, covering nutrition, contest prep, and life experiences living in the industry. How are you guys both doing today?
Right. Go ahead, Coleman. You can go first.
No, you already started talking. Keep talking.
Good. I had
I'm gonna
broken
call on
teeth.
one of you next time, or like,
Well, rock,
like
paper, scissors.
yeah. So we'll do it before the podcast. We'll just do that.
Yeah.
I
A
love it.
friendly
I love it.
little battle.
I'll win
Exactly.
every time.
So
But pretty good. Got to pick up Connor later.
exactly. Yeah. What time did you land? 10. You said.
10:30, man. Dude, I thought me and you were bad at like booking flights. No.
Well, that's what
No,
happens when you
look.
let an 18-year-old book a flight.
No. The
That was
only person worse is Neil booking flights because Neil books everything last minute, or one of our VAs book it and they're looking at Filipino time, not US standard time. So they're like, yeah, totally. 11:30 a.m. totally reasonable time because that is 11:30 p.m. really not a socially acceptable time to fly anywhere.
yeah.
That's
Well,
crazy.
he lands at 10:30, so that means he gets out of the airport probably at 11:30.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a wonderful night. And he calls me too. He calls me on Thursday and goes, "Hey, can I fly in on Sunday?" And it wasn't even Thursday morning. It was like Thursday night. Like right after I'm about to finish training.
Well, I didn't
And I
even
was
know
like,
any of this was
"Ah."
happening till, well, he didn't even really tell you that he was until last night.
No, he didn't tell me until about 2 hours ago when he told me, "Yeah, I'm on my way to the airport."
Yeah.
It was all speculation.
Yeah, communication's not his strong suit. Let's definitely fucking say that.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that this week. That's gonna be one of the biggest things we work on this week. Communication.
But that brings us actually right into our topic today, talking about recovery when it comes to training, because I'm sure when he lands, he's going to be either behind on food or he's probably going to sleep the moment he lands. So
Both. Both.
probably both, exactly. Falling asleep, not getting that last meal in.
I'll
But I
force
love
it.
it. So the one thing I often see when it comes to like recovery and training is that people focus so much on doing everything. It's almost like the concept that more is always better. And like I used to always lead with the concept that it's intensity over volume. For the most part, when it came to training, that's always been my ideology. Not like volume definitely has its place, but obviously the intensity in which you execute something matters a lot too. Um, but I've definitely noticed with obviously people pushing volume, a lot of educators pushing volume, that a lot of kids do way too much in the gym, and I think you've all possibly have seen that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some splits where I've seen like 32 sets, and I've been like, all right, let's drop that by half and
Right?
take away half the movements because what's the point? You're
Right.
already hitting that muscle twice. Why are you hitting it 4 times?
Yeah. Like how many
Let's
flat press variations are you gonna do in a day, right? Like
one.
you're doing dumbbell press, you're doing a machine press, you're doing floor press, and maybe you do Smith press. Oh, like what? Like there's only so many ways to hit a muscle. Like this
Exactly.
like I like to go like with almost every muscle. There's let's say we can hit things 2 to 3 ways, and that's
Yeah,
kind of it. Obviously there's exceptions to the rule, right? Like if I use something like I use like hamstrings for example, right? Like hamstrings, like I may hit with some type of flexion based movement, like a hamstring curl. I may do a hip hinge movement like an RDL, or like I'll do something like a high foot wide leg press, which is obviously a lot of adductor, but some hamstring as well. While doing that. But again, there's a couple ways to obviously hit each muscle, but there's no reason to do 5 or 6 things to hit one specific thing, right?
Because then at
Um,
that point,
exactly.
you're just killing yourself. You're just hurting yourself.
exactly. And then it's like, what is more volume going to do for the thing? Like, imagine if someone went to the gym and did 24 sets for biceps in a day.
Yeah. Count me
Like,
out.
what would you be doing at that point, right? Like, this isn't Rich Piana 6 hour arms. Like, like this isn't that. Um, but this brings me to the point of how to build or why people should build a split. And a split that has a timeline to it, not just, hey, I'm going to do this indefinitely forever. Here's a split that I'm going to do for X amount of weeks, and here is the goal that I'm going to accomplish over the course of that. So one of the things that we do over here is we often build 6-week splits. And this is something I picked up from watching John Jewett education, and it's mostly just the 6-week mesocycles focused on bringing up some lagging groups or filling some gaps that someone may or may not have. Now, the one thing I like about this, and I feel like it's missing for a lot of people, is that people kind of do the same split over and over and over again. I understand chasing the logbook, right? Because that's something we should definitely do. And they just do the same thing over and over again to keep progressing logbook wise. But in a lot of cases, you're only going to keep making your strength stronger, and your weaknesses are going to stay your weaknesses by doing that. There's a reason why things lined up the way they lined up. Obviously, maybe some of that may be genetic factors, some of that be maybe lifestyle habits. It could be previous sports someone participated in before that led to a muscle being more developed. But I feel like people just fall into the habit of doing the same split over and over and over again without changing it to become better at their division or better at their sport.
Yeah, it's like people that come from baseball. You just said it with like overdeveloped. Their shoulders would be more developed on one side than the other.
Yeah.
Like significantly, their throwing arm is going to be 3 or 4 times more developed, depending on how long they played for and the length and stuff like that. But it'll be severely overdeveloped. I've seen that plenty of times. We see what Connor.
Yeah.
Connor's right arm, Connor's right delt is so overly developed compared to his left.
Yeah, no, definitely, and yeah, and it's affected a lot of other things too, on the posterior side. But like, not only that, like let's say that someone played softball, right, and they're a catcher. Like, hands down, that person probably has crazy big legs. And just because you were in a squat position for hours, you moved back and forth using your adductors to go back and forth, like you probably have a developed muscle because of that. Or if you're someone who played you actually tried to be good at football in high school, maybe in college, like chances are you have very good foundational muscles from doing the big compound lifts. Or even like wrestlers, right? Most wrestlers have a nice back because we're focusing on pulling so much, right? We don't have the best posture because of that, but like we normally have a good back because of that, right? So that's more so what I'm referencing. So like, imagine coming from a sport like wrestling, where you already have a very developed back, but you don't have a very developed chest or legs or anything like that because you did so much body weight things from calisthenics. You didn't want to necessarily get bigger, but you wanted to get stronger and have better endurance and things like that. Like, that same person who wants to get into the sport of bodybuilding is going to have to bring up everything else to be somewhat symmetrical to fit into the class that they want to compete in. So chances are the chest may take years to catch up because of that. So you wouldn't build a split around maybe chest being done once a week. You may have some chest spread out throughout the week to make sure that chest gets a little bit more time and attention than it needs, because for years and years, it got less attention than everything else.
Right.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
So like, we'll kind of use this as an example to describe like kind of what the mesocycles that we do over here are like. So like, I'll use something that is very common for a lot of male bodybuilders is like not having developed enough adductors. And I'm seeing that more and more people now do a lot of adductor work, which is good to see because it's kind of inexcusable because it's a very easy motion to do. Every gym has an adductor machine. Every single one. Like, you go to fucking Curves, and Curves has an adductor machine, right? Every gym has an adductor machine. That people are now focusing on obviously filling that gap. But imagine someone had a thigh gap when they did their front double bi and their front lat spread. So that's something that they wanted to bring up as their adductors. And maybe when they did things like a front lat spread, you didn't really see enough of their actual lat in that pose. So those were two gaps that you really wanted to fill. Now, like, you could pixie dust movements hitting those muscles directly throughout the week to bring up the cumulative volume. And I think that's a mistake people make, is they focus so much on the volume on a given day, not the cumulative throughout the week, because the cumulative throughout the week is going to be equally as important as much you did in one day. If anything, you're giving your body more opportunity to make progress by having it sprinkled throughout the week, because you can do those sets with a higher amount of intensity. If you're doing 30 sets of lat work in one day, chances are at the second half of that movement, you do not, or exercise, that workout, you don't have the same intensity you had the first half of it. But you know what? If you did single arm lat pull down 3 times throughout the week, maybe for 3 to 4 different sets on 3 different days, I guarantee you're hitting that movement with the same exact intensity each time, and you're creating the same amount of stimulus each time, same amount of recruitment each time, because you're not fully fatigued going into it.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Like your split that you have me on now. I've adductors 4 days a week.
I think 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 4 days a week. Like you don't have to do it all in one day.
Yeah.
There's 7 days a week for a reason.
And like in reality, you're training 5, right? So like,
Yeah.
if you train 5 days a week, you already have 2 rest days where the muscle's getting no attention, right? And I'm talking about like we're enhanced athletes, right? Well, me and you speaking here, are enhanced athletes. So our ability to recover is slightly higher than someone who's natural, but it does not mean doing something like this isn't feasible with them either. Because in essence, what you would do is judge things like your recovery window, right? How much time is in between them hitting it again? Let's say maybe they hit something on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? They at least have a 24-hour block in between of recovery. Now, we're talking about doing this for about 6 weeks. We're not talking about doing this month after month after month. And that's where the line in the sand is, right? People will do the same split for months and months and months, and they look like the same bodybuilder months after months after months.
Right.
But if you completely obviously are focusing on bringing up the worst thing, then you're actually start looking like a different bodybuilder and possibly change your structure too, from the aspect if you're someone that possibly has a wide waist. Well, okay, let's focus on bringing up things that make your waist look smaller, right? Let's maybe bring up your quads and you develop more of a sweep, or let's focus on making your shoulders and lats wider to give the illusion that your waist is smaller. And that's a big, again, I think it's just a mistake that I see everyone doing. And everyone who comes to our program is doing the same thing over and over again. Or they don't have a split, and they're just kind of like today's push, and what happens, happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly what it is. Like everyone sticks to the same bro split for years.
And then they
Just
kind of
assuming
just
it's gonna
do
work.
whatever they like, and then they're not really seeing that improvement because they're like, oh, well, I don't really like whatever sumo squats or something. So they never do them, and it could be something that they're like.
Gotta
That was
start
a
liking
bad
doing
example,
shitty
but
movements. You gotta start liking doing. You gotta start to like to do stupid movements that you don't like. That's
And
part
you
of
don't like them
bodybuilding.
for a reason. Like, you don't like them because they're fucking hard.
right, because they're hard.
Like,
I
I
hate
was
good
trying to think of
mornings.
Bulgarians, and
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't think of it. That's what I was trying to
I was literally about to say that. I don't think there's a single fucking person that's like, yes, thank you. I have Bulgarians in my fucking split. Thank you.
Except
No
for-
one fucking says that.
Except for Coleman.
I don't know. I like Bulgarians actually.
Okay, walking lunges or Bulgarians?
Bulgarians every time.
I mean, I
Walking
agree
lunges.
with that.
Nope.
I'd rather do
lunges.
Bulgarians than walking.
Nope. I'd rather do Bulgarians every single time.
There's something that's gratifying about walking forward. I don't know.
There's nothing gratifying about doing walking lunges, in my opinion.
I don't know.
There's nothing fun about it.
I'm saying it would have been slightly more impressive to see Ronnie Coleman do Bulgarian splits with 225 compared to see him do walking lunges with 225.
But seeing him do it with 225?
Well, yeah, if you look at the video, all the videos of Ronnie Coleman, he's doing lunges across the Metroflex parking lot with 225 on his back and this like a hot Austin summer day. Like that's like one of the videos I grew up watching. So for me, like walking lunges is something that I was like, oh, it's something that you just fucking do. But like I saw him doing fucking the same thing with Bulgarian split squats. Him standing outside doing Bulgarian splits with 225 on his back. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, I mean walking lunges are hard, don't get me wrong, but Bulgarians are pretty hard too.
No, I think Bulgarians are way harder, dude. I fucking hate them with a fucking passion. There's something about me staying still and just going up and down that I hate more. Obviously, I hate it because I fucking should do it more. That's all it really
Yeah.
is. If I
I
did
think
it
that's
more,
what
I'd
it
probably
is.
hate it less eventually.
I just like them, they're fun.
Yeah, no, trust me, no one we have doing them likes them. I promise you, Coleman. If you send a
Oh,
survey monkey out,
I am very well aware by the choice of words that I get back.
yeah, the only person who actually enjoys them is Ella because she's a fucking masochist.
Nope. Victoria, she likes them a little bit. I got it to
A
grow on
little
her a
bit.
little bit. A little bit. I
Yeah,
haven't
no,
gotten her. She hasn't complained to me
literally,
once about them.
Cassie had to tell Ella to put the drop set in her check-in. I don't know if you saw it in her check-in. She did a triple drop set for shits and gigs the other day for Bulgarian splits, just for shits and gigs. Like she's an
Not
insane
saying I
person.
didn't do a. Not saying I didn't do a double drop seat yesterday, but yeah.
Yeah, she's again. I promise you, almost no one whose plan we put them in is like, oh, thank you for these.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And
know.
if they're saying it's sarcastic as fuck, I promise you that right now.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm very, very well aware that some of them say a lot of sarcastic things back.
Oh yeah, no, for sure,
I know.
for sure.
I know Nick hates any time that I judge his training because he knows what I'm gonna say before he
Well,
even submits them.
well, that's all. That's also why he sends it to us, right? Like he wants to get better at it, and he just and like he also likes having fun, dude. Like it's a happy balance for him. But obviously he has to focus on doing things the right way more than anything else. But hey, he's come hundreds of miles in essence from where he started. So
Oh, 100%. He's came a long way. His progression has been so much better.
for sure. But dude, let's talk about what makes this a lot different than what the average person does. So I guess like let's go into the buckets of what the average person I believe does, and I'm just basing this off people who I'm personally friends with. I'm basing it off clients who come to us. So the first thing I say, don't really have a direct plan when it comes to their training program.
That's a direct plan. How they actually plan to like do their sets, like tempo wise, rep wise, sets wise. I think they just go until it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real structure in that. So there's no way you can actually progressively overload from that if you're not, and then obviously tracking it as well.
Yeah.
I would say.
And no, I totally agree. I totally agree. And again, and no duration, right? There's no end point of when does the new program start.
Yes.
Right. And I guess let's point out like where the flaws are in that, right? So like we look at not having a structured program, just doing whatever you want, you say you go in. One of the things is volume will probably not be consistent, right?
Right.
Your volume probably won't be consistent each week because if you're just doing whatever you kind of want, it's probably not going to happen that way. Now, we go to what the goal is when it comes to muscular hypertrophy, and one of the big goals is some type of progressive overload. And now it doesn't always have to be in a term of weight. This could be with form progression. This could be with tempo progression. This could be applying more so like changes in depth too. And then obviously more reps or more weight, right? It could be any of the five that will lead to some type of form of progressive overload to just make it more difficult than the next or the previous session. Because all building muscle is an adaptation. No different than like stretching your earlobe or doing anything else. It is a form of adaptation. So it's based on your body getting more stimulus than the previous session to encourage more inflammation, to encourage more growth. And if we're not beating what we've been doing, there literally is no reason for your body to ever create an adaptation response. Because why would your body have to adapt to something you can already physically do? There's no reason for it to.
Good
And
point.
and like that's where like I guess what I would say like the big miscommunication for a lot of new bodybuilders right now is they're focusing so much on having perfect form, and which is a good thing. I'm very happy they're doing that. But they're focusing so much on chasing the pump and the volume that they're forgetting that even though the goal is to body build, you should still be getting stronger. Like that should be a key fundamental part. I'm not saying you have to be squatting 500 pounds. Like I'm not saying that. Like, but the goal is to set personal records on a regular basis. And if you're not doing that, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because, again, why would you ever grow?
Yeah, there's no point to because you don't have enough stimulus at that point. If you're doing
Yeah.
the same thing over and over and over again, you're just gonna stay the same.
And like I've seen people like use references like Dexter Jackson, right? Like Dexter Jackson was notorious for never lifting really heavy. But he got big never lifting really heavy. So but he also never got bigger because he never lifted heavier, right? Like there's genetic outliers, people who put on muscle very easily, and we can't really hold a candle and use them as examples of what we can and cannot do. And I'll use someone like Branch Warren. Branch Warren probably lifted with the worst form that anyone I've ever seen. But Branch Warren also never got hurt in the gym, ever. He somehow still grew, looked like he lifted with momentum. And he had a decently long career. Like most people could never do what he did and have the same exact outcome.
Yeah.
But again, there's always going to be outliers when it comes to that. But if you're training in this manner of progressive overload, big thing you have to focus, next thing is on recovery, right? If you're beating yourself every single day, or at least each training session, you're definitely going to need some time off. Or not some time off, or at least. And that brings us into like the phase of a deload.
Like deload implementation.
Exactly. And I know it's not something many people practice in our sport, which I kind of find weird. And I always hear fucking people say like, well, because people don't train hard enough to deload. And you know what? For a lot of people, that's probably the case, right? Like the average gym goer, like the average person at LA Fitness, probably does not need a deload because they're probably not pushing a lot of things to actual failure. And also, they're probably not tracking. So they're probably not beating numbers every day they go into the gym. So again, there's going back to, there's less of that systematic inflammation because there's an additional stimulus. But for someone like us who's tracking each workout and going in to actively beat numbers, we definitely have to do that. And this is only because you're sore. This is also to prevent injury down the road. And this is also to allow you to keep pushing forward.
Exactly. I mean, even when I worked with athletes at a college, we would do that every 6 weeks as well. I would put that in their program. And they were always so confused by it, but they continued to progress and not get injured from doing so.
For both of you, you've ever finished a deload and then went back and did not feel better in the gym?
I've always felt better.
I've always felt better when I followed the deload.
Yeah, I know it's mentally hard to do. Like I understand.
Except for that one time we didn't.
Yeah, but I understand it's hard, right? Like it's most of us are doing this because we actively love the fucking train and we love to challenge ourselves and we love doing the things that are hard. Like that's just the people who do this love those things, right? But we sometimes have to kind of like tell our brain to like, hey, this is the logical thing we have to do or we should do to get better at the thing that we love. And this is where like it's good to have a coach because it's again doing the thing you need to do, not doing the thing you want to do. Because like if we only did the things we want to do, most people would never get to any higher level because doing the things you need to do typically move you forward and they happen to suck a lot.
Right.
Yeah, like when you had me deload like a week and a half out, that sucked. I was like, I just want to keep pushing weight, and then doing that deload, I was like, okay, I feel kind of. And then we had like one like little push right before that, and then I was like, oh, this feels good again, and then I was like,
yeah, and again, like,
and then my workouts ended. Then my workouts ended like the next day. I was like, damn, this feels really good, and I was like, fuck, that was my last workout. Never mind.
But you were not worn out, right?
No.
You didn't carry all that fatigue into. Well, it's actually very good we did that because fatigue lifted very late anyway, for that fucking show. Hence
Very late.
hence the refeeds that you had, because how late the fatigue lifted. But like again, like yeah, especially when it comes to a prep scenario, that has to be implemented in a proper way for sure.
Yeah,
But
especially.
so I guess when it comes to deload, we'll break it down in a couple buckets, right? So, um, if you are following a regimented training program that is focused on beating numbers on a regular basis, I definitely recommend doing a type of a deload. Now, a deload can be a couple of different variables of how you want to do it. Some people use it based off RPE. Some people use it based on reps in reserve. You can also base it off just taking what number you normally do for a select weight and just reducing what the rep you're going to target as. So let's just say, for example, you go into the gym and you use a weight for typically 15. Maybe you want to go use that same exact weight and now do it for 8 or do it for 10. Because the goal right now isn't necessarily to beat any number. It's necessarily just to go into the gym. You're going to go through the motion, so to speak, not pushing anything, and that's just giving your body a true chance to really recover from all the previous weeks of work. Now, these should be planned or put on your calendar to an extent. So number one, you make sure you actually do them. But so you can actually plan when they're going to happen. So if you have a program, what we typically do is the hardest 2 weeks are the 2 weeks before the deload. It gets harder every 2 weeks leading up to the deload. So you're going from the absolute shittiest part of it to your deload. So the deload feels really good.
Yeah, those deloads are fucking great too.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited for mine this time because my legs are kind of hurting.
So let's use you as an example, Bree. So Bree's a wellness competitor, and right now she has legs 4 times a week. You heard that right. She has legs 4 fucking times a week right now. And this has been going on for 6 weeks, and so she's going to be entering her deload. So you can imagine her legs are going to be insanely happy after all of that is done. And they're going to feel fresh and they're going to feel recovered. So when she goes into the next split, she's not going to be going into that carrying all the fatigue that she would be if we just moved to a new split automatically. Going back to the recovery part of this, if you cannot continue to keep pushing yourself in the gym, you cannot continue to keep making progress in the gym. And you taking these deloads periodically, especially again planned in a way that is additional stimulus leading up to a deload, you're going to feel so refreshed going into those lifts again. Your joints are going to feel good too, and you're going to have more energy in the gym. You're not going to be walking in there balls tired like you possibly might be at the end of a split, especially a split that is ascending up the whole time. But
I agree.
from a
I didn't know if
recovery
you were going into
perspective,
another spot.
no worries. But from a
I thought you
recovery
were going somewhere else, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let you keep going.
But I love it. So let's talk about recovery because I know we all do a bunch of different things for recovery here. Coleman, I know you get deep tissue work done, right?
Yes, I get my fascia work done during whenever I'm in season, 1 to 2 times a week. And then off season I'll go in the beginning of off season, I'll go once a week, and then I'll kind of taper it down to as needed. So right now I think I go maybe once a month. I need it. Maybe. Probably typically I don't know. It'll probably be like this next week. I know I need to get it done. My neck's a little jacked up. Don't know why. Don't do any. I don't do anything for my neck. Don't do anything for my traps. But my traps always is locked up no matter what I do. So I definitely have to get
He'll
that
be on a
released a
cell
little bit.
phone.
No, I don't do. No. I text like this.
Calling you out.
I mean, my job does require me to
Yeah,
be on
you're
my phone all
working.
the time.
It does. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yeah, I know. I'm
To
just
be
messing with
fair, to be fair.
you. Yeah.
But I don't like really hunch over that much or anything like that. So like, I don't know. It's my trap's always been messed up anyways.
I can't talk at areas sometimes. I literally just put my head down like this and I just text like this.
I've done that so many. No, I think my favorite thing to do is I take the chair and I'll like lean it back. Oh wait, I gotta unlock my chair. I'll lean it back like this, and then I'll put my feet up.
Yeah, no, every time I ever do that, I knock over the change drawer and the change goes everywhere. I must have done that probably 30, 40 times.
Shut
And
up.
I have like almost a PTSD from it, man. Like I hate picking up the fucking change.
I've done that so many times.
It's the most infuriating. Like I
Now,
get mad. I'm angry. I just want to go punch shit after it happens.
I go for a walk after I do it.
Yeah,
I
no.
walk around the store for 10 minutes and I'm like, okay, now it's time to pick up the change.
Yeah, no. I literally left it there and stared at it for a while. I'm like, I'm gonna eat a meal first.
I'm gonna finish my meal first.
But all right, cool. So you do you do massages, Bree? Do you do anything?
I do, but not as often. I should. I
Mhm.
actually just texted my friend Cody who does it. And he does deep tissue and then cupping as well. And I've gotten that done twice. I got it done in prep and then like probably a little while ago, maybe like a month or two ago, in my
Mhm.
like after prep when I was really, really feeling it in my legs. So that's normally what I do. But if I can't go, I'll do like Epsom salt baths, um,
Mhm.
something like
For
Can't
sure.
do
For sure.
those. Can't do those at my house.
that. Or I'll have Coleman scrape my leg with a the
A
little
spoon.
scraper tool.
No. I'll scrape myself with a spoon. I have done it plenty of times.
I have a little tool.
Give it a look
I
at
had
some weight.
Mac. I had
It's
Max
actually
teach me.
Well, okay, cool. When it comes to recovery, like, I'll talk about like what I do for recovery.
yes.
So like I definitely do get like deep tissue work done. I do think that's really important, especially for someone that does take PEDs, because obviously we do develop scar tissue over injection sites. And like being someone who pins the glutes and the shoulders, obviously those places do build up scar tissue pretty quickly. More scar tissue you have in an area, obviously that may lead to limited range of motion, that may lead to having ability or a inability to connect to certain muscle groups, like losing the ability to connect with the glute well, or like the mind the muscle connection there. So definitely getting deep tissue work again on areas that you pin are super helpful to break up that scar tissue. Obviously, as just a lifter in general, we can develop scar tissue anywhere. We are actively tearing down muscle each time we go train. So definitely getting tissue work is great, especially if you're someone that does have any muscular imbalances. Because you have to think about it, any muscular imbalance you may have will probably only become more developed if you keep lifting the same way and keep doing the same things, because you're not doing anything to correct that imbalance, possibly not even corrective exercise therapy. You may be making things worse. And you see this with a lot of men that have really caved in shoulders like this, or the traps are always elevated really high, they have no neck. Because, again, like there's certain things that they're overcompensating with when they are lifting, and not doing anything to make those things any better. Um, Other thing I definitely do for recovery is ice baths. That's one thing I definitely enjoy a lot to reduce some of the inflammation, especially after a hard week of training. Now, like when it comes to ice baths, there's a lot of science that goes on both sides of the spectrum. I don't know if you've ever seen any of this, Coleman, but there are studies that do say that it actually, or that obviously
Increases inflammation.
we could aid with hypertrophy, and there's also studies that say it could aid against hypertrophy. And the concept is, in essence, muscle growth is a system of creating inflammation, and the inflammation helps create repair. So the
Hmm.
concept is that possibly stopping inflammation too fast can stop or impede muscular development because of that.
I've seen that.
But
Yeah.
also
I could
reduction
see
of.
that.
Mhm. But also the concept is also that muscle growth can also be is also a form of repair, right? And after the inflammation leaves, repair starts happening. So it is two sides of the spectrum, and unfortunately, there's not enough evidence on both sides to say one is correct and one is wrong. So it's something I don't dabble with every single week. I don't do it um, every day or anything like that. It's something I kind of do periodically based on my training and how I'm feeling. And if things are feeling run down, I definitely do it more often.
Mm.
Especially if my joints, if my knees are bothering me, I'll definitely do ice bath more often just to reduce some of the inflammation in the actual joint. Um, I think this is a big thing that I kind of do for recovery. I don't do much outside of that.
Well, you
I
do
used to do
saunas
regular
too, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely do, and I do saunas more so for the biohacking component of it,
Yeah.
and that's just creating autophagy. And for those who don't know what autophagy is the death of cells. And so just being in a sauna for a long period of time or at a high enough heat creates cell death. And things like autophagy have been shown to reduce risks of things like cancer because you're killing off weak cells. Um, so things like that are more so good from a longevity perspective, and obviously increase like blood flow and circulation, which is great for recovery too.
Yeah,
And
that's
all those
awesome,
things
yeah.
like better circulation do help with reduction of inflammation. So yeah, I guess it's totally great for recovery as well.
I
Um,
agree.
but like, why are we gonna spend $100 a month or $200 a month on recovery?
Because I want to get bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, like,
Simplest answer.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
your body depends. Like, is your body important to you?
yeah.
Question.
I would use the same exact thing. It's no different taking your body to a body shop if you have some damage done, right? And the thing is, like we go into the gym and we're beating ourselves up on a regular basis. And I understand there's a lot of people who don't get body work done on a regular basis. And you know, there's people out there that obviously, I don't want to say genetically or what they do for work and things like that. They probably don't get as tight as some other people who have a sedentary job, or maybe that they're more active throughout the day, so they're more limber, or maybe they just have better lifestyle habits, so they're not someone who sits as often, so the hips don't lock up, or they walk more places than drive, so they may not again have issues with their hips or legs as much someone else might have. But even if you're not doing things like body work or massage, just doing things for recovery, even if it's foam rolling, if it's using a Theragun, if it's going in a sauna here and there, if it's maybe even just seeing your chiropractor here and there too. Like I would possibly even say that's a form of not only recovery but a preventative measure to prevent injury, right? Because we can only keep making progress in the sport as long as we're healthy. The moment we get injured, it kind of shuts the whole game down.
Yeah. The moment you're injured, you can't do shit.
And if you're really competitive at this, you're not only worried about that, you're worried about people passing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You want to
that's
win the
all.
race. You don't want to lose. No one wants to lose.
Yeah, and that's
Right,
why like
exactly.
well, even when we talk about like drug protocols, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Like it's about
Mhm.
longevity. It's about putting the reps in every single day, not how quick you can get in 2 or 3 years. It's how great of a bodybuilder can you be in 8. And like most people don't want to look at what 8 years down the line looks like or what 6 years down the line looks like. But in reality, that's where the big change is going to be. Especially where most people start. Like if you're a 155-pound bodybuilder, 160-pound bodybuilder, you're depending on your height, like you're probably going to need like 5 or 6 years to be a very, very competitive bodybuilder. Um, just because again, things like that just take time.
Yeah. Especially depending on like what you compete in and things like that. Sure,
Exactly.
you can get you can get short-term gratifications win a local show, but that's not gonna matter. No one
And again,
cares how
it
many
all
local
depends
shows. No
on
one
why you're
care.
doing it
No one
too,
cares
right?
how many local shows you win. You can
Yeah,
win
you're right, Mark.
100 local shows. That doesn't mean shit.
Well, yeah, it depends on their why.
Yeah.
Like if they want
Yeah,
to
you know
try
what?
it and like just do a local show and like that's it, then that's their goal.
Yeah. That's the
Yeah, I
thing,
agree in
right?
that sense.
Because like there's a lot of people who don't want to be a pro bodybuilder, and maybe not even the concept is that, hey, I don't want to be a pro because I don't want to be a pro. Could also be like, hey, I don't want to invest that much time, that something like that, or not even that is that, hey, like I'm not going to put my health on the line for something that I know I'm going to have to put my health on the line for at a higher level. So why even get there?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
And like we all know people who win local shows every year and never go to nationals because the goal was not to go to nationals and win. The goal was just to do a local show because you know what, a local show makes me feel good about myself and it makes me still participate in the sport I'm passionate about and I love. And I don't need anything more than that to feel fulfilled.
No, I agree. I was going for more in the essence of someone who wants to turn pro and does a million local shows and then never like you can do these crazy protocols just for a local show. Like, where's your ceiling? Where's your ceiling?
Exactly. No, 100%. Where's your ceiling? And the other thing is this, that obviously if you're doing all that just to win local shows, you have to kind of think outside of the box more and realize it's a game of chess, not checkers, right? This is about plotting, okay, how can I get to that next level? If I'm winning here, how do I get here, right? And that's the thing about, again, taking a step back and realizing that sometimes people have to work smarter and then harder.
Yeah, because if you're putting it out all on the line for a local show, then you're going to have to do, I don't want to say 10 times more. I don't want to give it a number, but you're going to have to do a lot more in that pro show or in that national show to even have a chance.
Yeah, and that's why I will always use Cody Montgomery as an example, because everyone watched him rise, and everyone watched him fall. And it was one of the things that, again, when you do everything you need to do to become a pro as fast as physically possible, that, hey, normally there's a place of diminishing returns where blasting all those drugs don't work out in your favor. And I don't want to say anything bad about the dead at all, but like I'll use Boston Lloyd as an example in his young ages. He ran the most outrageous cycles when he was young. He used to post them all over forums, like 1,000 milligrams of tren a week, like 200 milligrams of Halo test a day. Like, they were insane things that the average person would never do. And did he progress really quickly? Yeah, he fucking did. He had the 2 year difference. He gained like 30 pounds or 40 pounds of stage weight. But did he ever look like a pro bodybuilder? No. Did he ever become a pro bodybuilder? No. But what did happen was he eventually did lose his health from doing that. And again, like, going back to the concept, like, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And again, he got smarter as he aged, like most of us do, and stopped doing the things he was doing in the second half of his life that he was doing in the first half of his life. But after those mistakes are made and those things are done, like, those consequences normally aren't tomorrow. Those consequences are years down the line. And just because, you know what, like, hey, when you did some few basic labs, your heart looked fine. But you know what? You didn't go get an EKG done. You didn't get a calcium score done. You didn't get a stress test done. So, like, just because your cholesterol looked okay and your C-reactive protein wasn't high, there's nothing saying that your heart's actually healthy. And like, those things happen again down the road.
Yeah, everything's accumulation.
Yeah. The same thing with muscles, right? Like, we're talking about recovery. Like, if you're beating the shit out of your body, the cumulative stress of you beating the shit out of your body on a regular basis will catch up with you if you're not doing things for recovery. And again, like, this doesn't have to be getting a massage. This could be a million things that are just beneficial in general.
Literally costs like $10 to get the ice you need for an ice bath.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. It's
Literally.
$10.
Dude, I have that thing on my deck right now. You know how cold that shit is?
I don't even want to know. I'm not about it. We should make Connor try.
Why are you going to torture Connor?
I love it. I love it. So if you guys could sum up what you want to have your takeaway for training splits and recovery, what would you say?
Or do you want to go first?
No, you go first, because I went first last time.
Okay.
You rock paper for this?
Go for it. Just go.
There's no satisfaction in winning then.
We'll do it next time.
Okay. So a short summary. Set up your training spot. Set up your training block into a 6-week thing. Do a deload after you do it. Progressively overload the entire way. And then start looking at ways to recover during that deload period. That'd probably be the best time to get like myofascial work, ice baths, stuff like that. And even if you need it periodically, you can ice bath during the week.
Yeah.
Sure.
What I would say is make sure that you log everything, so that you have a complete plan of when you're deloading and what you're hitting during the week, your numbers, and your goals as well. And then obviously make sure, even like with getting recovery work, but make sure that you're also sleeping and tracking your sleep as well throughout the week. I started logging when I like how many hours a night I'm sleeping so that I'm like next to my workouts, I'm like, okay, this makes sense of why I feel like this today.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I'm disappointed myself for not touching on sleep of all things.
No, I also forgot about
Recovery, right? I suck a bag of dicks. I'm sorry, guys.
We'll talk about
But
sleep another day.
for sure, for sure. I love it. Those are both very valid points. And that's what I would leave it with too. Is that over the course of whatever plan you develop, try to focus on bringing up things that would make you better at whatever division you're in. So look at your poses from your last show if you've competed before. If you haven't competed before, look at your most recent check-in, and in essence, look at what do I need to do to make this better. And don't focus on everything, right? Because like you can probably find 4 or 5 things, right? And we can all probably find 4 or 5 things. And the thing is, find like 2 or 3 max. I'm saying more so 2 that you want to focus up and bring up on over the course of a block. And just make sure you sprinkle enough volume throughout the block to make sure that you're getting enough cumulative volume. And one of the best ways to help with progressive overload, to make your life very simple, over the course of those 6 weeks, you just add slightly more volume over the course of those 6 weeks. Maybe every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, add more volume in. That'd be the easiest way to do that. When it comes to your deload, make sure you actually fucking do it. Don't just call it a deload week and go do the same thing. Actually do a deload. I know it's going to suck. I know no one enjoys doing it, but I promise you, you will feel better when it's done. Maybe not mentally, but you will feel better by doing it. And you'll feel better in the gym, and it'll help you moving forward, and it will be, in essence, help you be injury free as well. And that's what Coleman said. During that week of deload, that's normally when I would get some body work done and focus a little extra on recovery. Just because, like, in essence, like, I'm not going to have a really aggressive workout tomorrow. So if I do get a lot of deep tissue work done, I'm not walking into that workout feeling like almost like loose. And that's the one thing is sometimes I know myself personally, if I get a lot of body work done before I lift, I feel a little squirrely in the gym. Just because I feel so loose almost like too loose.
Yeah.
To really brace as hard as I need to.
Sure.
But those are, I guess, the big takeaways. So I appreciate you all listening to MVP Coach's Corner. So give us a follow on YouTube and Instagram. If you have any questions, please shoot any of us a message here. But thank you for listening. Again, until next time, guys. Take care.